The thing about physically stealing books, like you do not want to steal them from the comic book conventions. Like, you know how they have the artist alley set up and the people are selling books with the tables. You do not want to steal books from a comic book convention. Because let me tell you something about those volunteers who staff the comic book conventions. Of all the people who ain't playing with you,
Hey, buddy.
they ain't playing the most. If you're going to steal books, let it not be from the comic book convention. Hello, Shameless Writers. I'm Kristen McTiernan, the nonsense-free editor, here for a video that I have slightly tweaked because it was totally going to be a diatribe against book pirates and an imploring of you to not steal from artists. But then I, of course, as I do, got into it on Twitter first. And what I discovered is that actually book pirates know exactly what they're doing and they don't care. And they're actually, frankly, offended that you, author, would have the temerity to dare charge money for your ebooks anyway. Who do you think you are? You might think I'm kidding if you're not terminally online like I am, or if you didn't post a community note like I did, basically admonishing book pirates and giving you an example of a real author, Melissa Cave, who was personally affected by ebook piracy and may have gotten in trouble for it. The comments on that caused me to dig deeper. So there were a lot of them on my community post and on another one of my videos, but this one really sums it up, and this one is from Twitter. No author who really wants you to read their book will make you pay for it. Selling books/ideas is a capitalism. Art should be free. Information should be free. I will bet you $9,000 specifically that this person has never created any form of art ever. Anyway, so this is what they think, you know, for all of the protestations. Oh, I'm poor. I don't live in the United States. And for some of them, that's true, to be clear. I understand that that is a reality, but it's a vanishingly small reality. Majority of people who are like this live right here in the US or other Western countries. They have access. They just don't think that you deserve money because fuck you. So there's really nothing to be done with that mindset. The people who steal your books, they don't feel bad. They're not doing it out of necessity. They're doing it because they like to and they hate you. So there's nothing to be done with that mentality. There's no persuasion that you can give to kind of reason with these people. And ebook theft will always be a part of every author's life. And kind of, it's just something you have to fight against. It's part of your career, unless it's not. What if you actually didn't have to deal with book pirates because the only form of books that you're selling are hard copy? Now, underneath my best performing video, basically about, you know, owning your own ebooks and the fact that you're basically renting them from wherever you buy them from, I did get a lot of comments from people who read, and they say, you know what? No, I don't read ebooks. I'm sure it's very convenient. I will only buy print. So there is a subset of readers who refuse to buy ebooks. Shouldn't there be a subset of authors who refuse to publish them too? The question is, how do you do that, specifically if right now you've been making the majority of your money with ebooks or with something like Kindle Unlimited? How would you transition to a hard copy only model? That's what we're going to talk about today. Strange as it might sound, given the fact that most of my presence is online now, you may be interested to know that my book-selling career as an author did begin exclusively physically. Now, I did post my books on Amazon, but that was kind of an afterthought, and you can tell by how it performed there. My main avenue of selling my first book, Thunder of Time, which at the time was just titled Sunder, and its sequel and the other series, was at conventions. I live in Kansas City, and you might be surprised if you think that the middle of the country is just flyover country, but we have a lot of conventions within driving distance. I also had the good fortune of knowing two other authors who had a lot of books. One of them in particular, Dennis Young, he had about 7 books when I met him. And then, of course, the divine Rachel Ellen had about 6 or 7. Some of them were compilations of short stories. And so the three of us pooled together, and we became known as the Uptown Authors. I think we called ourselves on all of our stuff. And we went to physical conventions. We went to Planet Comic Con in Kansas City, which was the biggest and most expensive. We went to the now defunct, unfortunately, Kansas City Comic Con, which is a smaller version of Planet Comic Con. We went to Crypticon. We went to AnimeCon. We went to a lot of local conventions, and we sold our books there to great success. And I'm happy to tell you now that conventions aren't the only way to sell hardback books. Obviously, you still have the vendors. You can still sell your hardbacks at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Waterstones, etc. These avenues should not be shut off. Please continue selling them at these places. But if you're going to have a physical copy only business model, generally speaking, going the print on demand only online retailer option is probably not going to be the best option. And since my time of physically selling books at cons between, I think, 2015 and 2019 was the last one, and you can guess why they stopped after that. There have been a lot of different ways. Technology has come through, and there are a lot of really awesome ways to physically sell your books to customers. The first question you want to ask yourself is, how do you acquire physical copies of your books to sell, and how do you distribute them to your customers? I am based in the United States, so most of what I say will be centered on the United States because I don't know what you people do in other countries. Especially you, Canada. What are you doing? But in the United States, there are several options. In the United States, most hard copy sellers do something called print on demand. If you've published any book at all, you know what print on demand is. That means you do not have to do a book run and keep physical copies of your book on your premises and then ship them yourselves. You don't have to do that. You can order copies as needed from Amazon, or you can do that through Ingram as well. They also do print on demand. There are also companies called Lulu and Book Vault that do have print on demand options. Lulu and Book Vault also have integrations with online stores like Shopify. So if you want to run a Shopify store for your physical copies to sell directly to your readers, those are two of the big ones in the US. Book Vault is headquartered in the UK, and from my perception, they run much better. So if you are a UK author or even a Canadian author, Book Vault is probably, I would highly recommend them over Lulu. If you're in the US, yeah, you can do Lulu, but here is the thing about print on demand. A lot of things can go wrong. So many things can go wrong. I was briefly, and by briefly, I mean 3 months in the sell direct to readers game, and I used Book Vault. Oh my God. Okay, readers had to wait, and this is not a joke. They had to wait 6 weeks to get my paperback. Now, this is not normal. Book Vault did apologize, and I think everybody had kind of a lag in physical book production at that time. I think they might all use the same printers here in the US. But still, 6 weeks for a book? I'm so sorry. No. In the days of 2-day shipping from Amazon, it is unreasonable to ask your readers to do that. So that's one problem. Another problem, and this is very often with people who use Ingram Spark, bookstores and individual book buying customers will receive damaged books. So of course, what do? They don't want damaged books, especially if it's a bookseller. They're not going to sell damaged books, so they send it back. And who gets charged for that? You, the author. So there's a lot of uncertainty when dealing with print on demand. Obviously, if you don't have the space and if you don't have the funds for a storage facility to maintain stock, that's totally understandable. And maybe you want to start off with print on demand to see if that works for you. My recommendation, however, is that you do actually do a book run. Start small, but print the books in advance and either use a fulfillment company or ideally fulfill them yourself, which nicely translates to you using the big boy in book distribution, which is TikTok Shop. If you are a patron of TikTok, you are probably sick of TikTok Shop. You hate it. You are so sick of these ads. No, you don't actually want to see this stupid mop when you're trying to look at booktop videos. It's so annoying. But if you are a seller, especially if you're a bookseller, you know that BookTok Shop can make you money. So much money. TikTok Shop is unique in that it allows you to list your books directly on the site, and it also allows other creators to earn a commission for selling your books. That way, you don't only have to make videos and go on lives to pitch your books. Other people will do it for you for a small fee. This is a great way to get bigger creators in on the game. The thing about selling on TikTok Shop, and this goes for all books, but TikTok in particular is very aesthetics driven. It's not quite as bad as Instagram, but having, book porn, and I don't mean spicy books, I mean having a book that looks beautiful in hand is very important to these creators who will want to pitch your book, which is why both Book Vault and the US-based Book Nation, no, not Book Nation, sorry, hold on. Print Nation, have started offering sprayed edges and foiled covers and all manner of just kind of beautifying what should be a regular book process. So instead of just having a regular, well-designed book cover, now you can have sprayed edges for a special edition. You can also have book foiling. Normally, this wasn't available to a lot of self-published authors, or if it was at great expense, and you had to find someone local who would do it for you. Now that's not the case anymore because these hardback aesthetics are so very important. That's why a lot of people put up with Ingram Sparks nonsense, because they're the only ones who do the jacketed hardbacks. But if you're using a printer like Print Nation, they do jacketed hardbacks, but you just have to do a print run. They don't do print on demand. Obviously, here on the Nonsense Free Editor, we talk about the content of the book, how to write a good book, how to fit in your genre, how to market it to the right readers who will enjoy the content of the book. But when we're talking about a hard copy only business model, aesthetics, in my personal opinion, really need to come into it. Do you have an aesthetically pleasing book that is going to make your readers sit up, take notice, and say, I must have that. I don't even need to know what it's about. As a book buyer, I recommend you not do that. I got tricked into Fourth Wing. Don't let that happen to you. Having things like sprayed edges and foiled covers, depending on your genre, of course. If you're marketing primarily to men in a high fantasy book, I don't know. Do y'all like sparkles and glitter and foil on your covers? I feel like that's primarily like a female thing. We're like raccoons. We love shiny shit. I don't know if guys like that, but everybody likes sprayed edges. I will not be convinced otherwise. So having that curb appeal is very important for your hardback books if you are going for a hard copy only strategy. In addition to TikTok Shop, you may not know that you have the option at Amazon to create a seller account. So if you did decide, okay, fine, I'm going to do the ebooks, but the hard copies, I'm selling those myself. I'm just going to sell them through Amazon as well. This is especially true if you want to do one of those aesthetically pleasing hardbacks with the sprayed edges. You can have an Amazon seller account. You will have your own stock. You will be responsible for the fulfillment, but Amazon is just the one selling it for you. Using the Amazon seller account does have its downsides. I know that the fees are interesting, although I will say after you do the math, you do still get more of a profit by using the Amazon seller account for your hardbacks than you do using Amazon print on demand, especially in the expanded distribution model. Oh my God. Sure, here's a $30 hardback. I earned $1.32 for that. Love it. Love you, Amazon Extend. Ugh, so annoying. Thank you, Amazon. Thank you for everything you do. Another thing to be cautious about with the Amazon seller account is their return policy. So there are a lot of people who do take advantage of returns. They return something that is not in good shape as it was when you sent it. You have to, I think they make you wait like a ridiculously long time. Like, okay, here's your hardback book. You have like 6 weeks to return it. What? I'm so sorry. So just be very cautious about that, because every vendor, every place that you use to sell your books, including Shopify, including PayPal, including any payment processor, they all have their own way of doing things. They all have their own rules regarding fighting fraudulent purchases or fraudulent returns. So whichever platform you use, whether that's TikTok Shop, Shopify, or Amazon, make sure that you are aware of the terms of services and your rights as a seller. Sticking exclusively to hard copy is a risk. I'm going to be real with you. But I will mention that if you're going to do any digital copies of your book, the return on investment is much higher for audiobooks. And the great thing about audiobooks, and I've seen people do this at Author Nation, which is an author convention every year. It used to be the 20 books to 50K convention. They have something called Rave on the Last Day, which is basically a book convention. The authors set up their tables and people come in and they buy the books and they talk to the authors. What I saw a lot of these authors do is they had their physical books and they were all beautiful with the sprayed edges and the glittery covers because it was awesome. But then they also had what looked like business cards, but they weren't business cards. They had the QC code. And what that was here's where you can buy my audiobooks. Now, audiobooks, obviously, they can still be pirated, but they're not pirated as frequently, and there are more protections for them, out on the web. So if you try to upload somebody else's audiobook to YouTube, a lot of times that will be automatically flagged. And if it's not automatically flagged, getting it taken down immediately because of the extremely aggressive DCMA way that YouTube does their things, it's actually much quicker and easier to get it taken down. So if you're trying to avoid just dealing with pirates at all, any kind of digital anything kind of relegates that to impossible. But you will struggle less and you will face less profit loss if you go with the audiobook route versus the ebook route. There are a lot of rewards to going to a hand selling technique. I personally very much enjoyed hand selling my books. Weirdly enough, my favorite convention was Crypticon, which was a horror convention. I got to meet my idol, Jeffrey Combs. He has played in so many things, but I love him for playing Wei-Yun and other characters on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Oh my God, I love him so much. He is so amazing. He's so amazing. If you're not a dork, you don't know who he is. It's okay. I forgive you. I forgive you that ignorance, but you should know he's amazing, and I got to meet him. Conventions are special like that. They're also hard to steal from, because if you've ever been there, you know that the people who walk around in the brightly colored shirts, these are volunteers, okay? They're not getting paid for this. I mean, they get free meals while they're there, but they're there to help people find booths. They're there to help the speakers like get to, their events where they need to be. These people are there because they are nerds and they love to be there. And I'm not saying that they would tackle you if you tried to physically steal a book from one of the tables, but I'm just saying if you're going to steal a physical book, you should just go to Barnes and Noble. I feel like that would be better for you. So that's it for today. If you have any experiences from selling at conventions, from selling physical only copies, I would love to hear about your experiences, especially if they're more recent than 2019, since that's where my experience stopped. I'd also love to hear from you if you have firsthand knowledge about TikTok Shop, because I don't. So until next time, take care and write well.